one can cook, and welcome to YYZ Video, your film book club of choice. This is Press YYZ's bi-weekly movie review show where we take a film series, starting with Pixar, we rank them, we review them, we have a good old time. You can watch the show on youtube.com/PressYYZ or listen to it on your own time on your podcast service of choice. Before we get started, remember, as always, to be good to each other. Discrimination of any kind, be it over one's race, gender, sexual orientation, or anything else, is wrong and will not be tolerated within this community. I am your host, Mr. Mitch George, and joined by the man with all the hand gestures, Mr. Nicholas Blaine. Mr. Hot Takes and Mistakes, TJ Beckham.
Howdy.
Our two-time award-winning film student, Alex Ballant.
Lightning-y. That's how I describe this podcast.
Our special guest for this episode, the host of Cozy Bears Cooking over at twitch.tv/Cozy Bear Live, Mr. Alexander Cozy Cozina.
What's up, Mitch? I just want to say right off the bat, I'm really glad that you got that Twitch link correct, because my dad has attempted to provide a link for his coworkers in many a Discord/Skype call in the past, and he has consistently gotten it wrong. He's been like, hey guys, my son does a cooking channel thing. It's you go to www.cozybear.com. I think that's correct. And I'm like, nope, wrong on every account. Twitch.tv/CozyBearLive.
I got to a point where I'd done nicknames for all the regular hosts, and then in my doc I just have Cozy after it, so I had to ad-lib all of that. I'm so glad I got it right.
You did a good job. You did a good job, Mitch.
All right. Well, as you can tell by the opening and by our resident chef being here, we are reviewing and ranking Ratatouille amongst the other Pixar films. Some fun facts of this film, Ratatouille, written and directed once again by Brad Bird, the writer and director of The Incredibles, based on a story by Jan Pinkava, Jim Capobianco, and Brad Bird. Fun fact about this, in 2005, Pinkava was replaced as director by Incredibles director Brad Bird. At the time, the core storyline of the film had been written, the style, the key characters, sets, it was all done. Bird came in and basically redid all that, made the rats look more like rats as opposed to being like anthropomorphized rodents and things. Following his departure from this project, Pinkava initially undertook other duties on the film and then left Pixar altogether. In the final film, Pinkava is credited for his story as well as getting co-director credit. And this is the first Disney Pixar movie to be produced after Disney's acquisition of Pixar for $7.4 billion, which sounds like a lot, because it is.
Bethesda
Ratatouille premiered... Sorry, go ahead.
It's Bethesda money.
It is Bethesda money, absolutely. Ratatouille premiered June 22nd, 2007 at the Kodak Theater in LA, with a general release on June 29th. The film grossed over $620 million, received widespread critical acclaim for its screenplay, animation, voice performances, and the score, once again, from Michael Giacchino, who scored The Incredibles. It won the Academy Award for Best Animated Picture and was nominated for 4 others: Best Original Score, Best Sound Editing, Best Sound Mixing, and Best Original Screenplay. It lost those awards to Atonement, The Bourne Ultimatum for both sound editing and sound mixing, and Juno, respectively.
Wow.
Juno.
Yeah, I know. The film was accompanied...
I've not seen that movie in quite some time. I just want to say, that's one of those movies I think back to, and I'm like, was that movie good, or did we just like it because it looked like it was filmed in Montreal, and that was really neat of it? Really?
It's only trash because you hate Michael Cera.
Also, it's just a trash movie.
I mean, no. Our next one is a trash movie.
The film was accompanied both theatrically and on home media releases by the animated short Lifted. We will review Lifted later when we get to ranking the shorts. But in the meantime, just off the top of our heads, let's just go over and talk about what we thought about the movie from a high level, and we'll dig down into some of the nitty-gritty. Nick, this is your first time seeing Ratatouille. I would have normally started with our guest. I'm sorry, Cozy. But Nick's never seen this movie before, so I need to get his hot takes.
Well, when we were talking about the aspect of the money thing earlier, that's $3 billion more than Star Wars was bought for.
And Marvel.
Yeah, Marvel was also $4 billion.
So cheap. Anyways, Yeah, this is a movie where I can definitely see why people love this. It's beautifully animated. I think it goes to TJ's point of, every single time we come back to these movies, they look more beautiful and beautiful. They're honing their craft. I personally didn't connect with it as much as I think a lot of people have. That's not to say I don't think it's a good movie. I just personally, it's not something that I'm like, oh, okay, like I don't connect with this. I don't connect with this message as much, or it just doesn't hit me as much. I think part of that is maybe due to years of seeing memes of this movie. I mean, like the last like a little bit, or the when the reviewer comes in and they have that flashback scene.
Anton Ego.
Yeah, like that was something that I've seen before. Of course, I know a lot of things just from different Disney pop culture things that have come up. So yeah, this is
Would you
nice
say that?
Go ahead.
Quick question: would you say that you had a grasp of the full plot from beginning to end, or did you just know about those scenes out of context?
That's the thing, is like I thought I did, especially watching this movie. Once I knew that, I'm like placing it. I'm like, oh, this is what's gonna happen. Knowing how Pixar usually goes. No, this movie subverts expectations. Is that for the better or for the worse? I'm not sure. It's real weird. Some parts of this are real weird and real out there. And the other thing I want to say is, like, you think about the previous movies that Pixar has done, and for a majority of them, they're things that people can think of. Toys coming to life, cars coming to life, what happens in a bug's life. Like, these are things that kind of like, oh yeah, this is like kind of inventive, but like not a whole lot. Not a whole lot is like super out there, whereas this is like the first movie where it's legitimately like, how did someone come up with this? Like, just the opening 10 minutes of it, I'm like, yo, this is something different. And I do think it's really special, and I do see that I do see why people love it so much, like I said. But yeah, I personally was like, it's mid-tier for me.
All right. Cozy, you are our guest this week. You are our resident chef, so we need to get your opinions on what I think is one of the best representations of cooking in film, but I'll get your take on that. What did you think of Ratatouille?
So, going into this movie was interesting for me because Ratatouille is a movie that I loved when I first saw it in theaters way back in the day. I might have even seen it like multiple times in theaters because, you go and visit some relatives who live in the States and they're like, oh man, we should all go see a movie together. What if we went and saw Ratatouille together? Yeah, let's go do that. Oh man, this movie's just as great then as it was now. Or maybe I think it's the reverse of what I just said. Anyways, it had been many, many years since I had seen this movie. And going into it, rewatching it, I was not expecting to like it as much as I did on the rewatch. And here's why. As part of YYZ, my enjoyment of YYZ video as just a listener of your content, I decided to go and watch A Bug's Life for the first time in its completion when you guys put out that episode. I believe that I explained this to you guys like on our own time, but obviously nobody else has heard this story on the podcast proper. I had seen 95% of A Bug's Life previously, but I had seen it in French and or in like a waiting room at the doctor's office. And so I didn't really grok most of what was going on. And so as part of my listening of YYZ video, I decided to kind of, actually give that movie my first legitimate attempt at watching it and understanding what was going on. And I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed A Bug's Life. And once I, was looking at A Bug's Life in the periphery and looking forward to Ratatouille, there were many details about Ratatouille that I had forgotten about. In particular, I had forgotten about most of the back half of the movie. I'd forgotten about the kind of contentious relationship that Linguini and Remy develop towards each other once Linguini starts becoming famous. I forgot about the whole subplot about Remy inviting his family into Gusteau's to steal food. And with those gaps in my knowledge, I was expecting that I was going to come into Ratatouille and I was going to come out of it enjoying it, but being like, well, I think that it's a better movie than Bug's Life. I think that Bug's Life has better character arcs, like particularly when we talk about Flick's character arc versus Remy's character arc, because in my head I'm like, oh, I don't feel like Remy, from based on my memory, I don't feel like Remy really grows a lot in this movie. And so it was a pleasant surprise to come back to this movie and discover, oh no, there's actually, I think, a lot of really great character growth in this movie, again, especially towards the back half, which I had forgotten about. And I mean, I really enjoy Bug's Life. I think I enjoy it more than the rest of the hosts at this table, but like, this is far and away a better movie than that in all regards, and I think one of Pixar's best. Is it their best movie? Don't know, but obviously that's something that we don't need to determine right now.
We will definitely get into that. Alex, Ratatouille, what'd you think?
So Ratatouille is one that, for Incredibles being the movie that like was my nostalgic childhood, Ratatouille is the movie that when I come back to it as an adult, I appreciate it more every single time. And this time is the same. I absolutely adore this movie so much. The messages that it says, that whole end sequence with Anton and his review, it made me cry today as it has many times beforehand. It's still so poignant, and I just think, like, I mean, like you said, like you kind of said, it really does, like, it is one of the best interpretations of cooking on screen, which is kind of funny to say because this is an animated movie, where they could be more exaggerated, but really, it, like, you can tell there's so much love for the like culinary craft all throughout this film, and just the characters are so relatable, and really that whole speech at the end, just, it's something that I continuously think about as somebody who's trying to break into a creative field personally. And it's something that I always kind of think of. It's like, maybe not everyone can be a great artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere, I think is so, like, it touches me personally the more I mature, and it will kind of continue to always be one of these movies that I will come back to at a time when I need, like, just some like inspiration and comfort. So I absolutely adore this movie so much, and it might be, I mean, it's definitely like in like the top tier of my favorite Pixar movies.
I like that you brought up the characters there, and TJ, before we started the show, asked me to save his takes for last when we're going through this. So I actually want to use that as a jumping off point to jump into our voice cast for this film. So starring as Remy the Rat is one Patton Oswalt, who was cast by director Brad Bird after Bird heard a food-related comedy routine that Patton did. Honestly, I think it's perfect casting.
I love it.
Can I?
I forgot he was.
Can I ask? Is the guy who plays Linguini the same guy who gets the thumbtack? The teacher that gets
Lou Romano
Yeah!
voices Alfredo Linguini, and Lou Romano also voiced Bernie Krop in The Incredibles, as well as Snot Rod in Cars.
Coincidence? I think not.
Can I just say that I totally thought Alfredo was voiced by someone else. I don't know the actor's name, but I thought it was voiced by Kenneth from 30 Rock. If you know the actor,
Yeah.
I totally thought that, and I'm disappointed that it's not. Because when I heard his voice, I'm like, this isn't who I thought it was, and now I'm upset.
Well, let's see if you're disappointed in the next one. Voicing Chef Skinner, the diminutive chef who takes over after Gusteau's death and uses Gusteau's name to market a line of cheap microwavable meals, is one Ian Holm.
Oh,
Ian Holm, you may recognize as the older Bilbo Baggins in the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit film series. And I do not hear it at all in that performance.
Yeah, I don't.
And true savants of film would know him as that one dude from Fifth Element.
Let's not talk about Fifth Element.
What?
Ah, man. So, voicing, where was I here? Django, which is apparently the name of Remy and Emil's father, the leader of the rats. Brian Dennehy, who you might know from a bunch of old stuff that I don't really recognize, as well as First Blood.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Sohn plays Emil, Remy's brother. Peter O'Toole voices Anton Ego, a film critic, or we're the film critics, a restaurant critic whose negative review literally kills a man. Returning to the Pixar animated universe, Brad Garrett voices Gusteau.
Yep.
Which this is his third.
I did
time.
not hear that until this viewing. My
Really?
brain exploded.
Oh man, I
No.
hear that all the time. Also, is this film like is Alex Anton Ego?
But a film?
Yeah, he's just like when he sees this film, he just like gets transported.
Honestly, it's pretty accurate.
Another one I didn't recognize. Will Arnett voices Horst Kerr, the German sous chef at the restaurant, which I don't hear him at all, and it's phenomenal that he did that.
The thumb guy.
Didn't even know.
The thumb guy.
The thumb guy.
Got
Killed
it.
the guy
Not
with
the thumb
this
wars
thumb.
guy. Just want to
Yeah, that's it. That's Will Arnett. The hardest thing for me was to figure out who John Ratzenberger played in this whole thing.
I know it.
The waiter,
The
right?
waiter,
The
he
waiter,
played
right?
The waiter.
Mustafa, the waiter in the restaurant. I couldn't hear it through the
I
French
heard it.
accent.
I can snuff out that Ratzenberger. Let me tell you,
You only hear it when he kind of his voice raises,
peaks.
and that's when I heard it. I'm like, that's it.
Brad Bird voices a character in the film. He voices Anton Ego's butler, Ambrister Minion.
Oh, okay.
And fun little tidbit, because we talked in the last review for Cars that we have characters that are voiced by different actors in the UK versus the US version of the film. We actually get that again here, and I don't care about the guy who does the US voice of the health inspector, but the actor behind the health inspector's voice in the UK, Jamie Oliver,
Oh,
famous
wow.
chef. Yeah. Also, fun fact, not really an actor by any means, but making a cameo in this film, Bon Voyage of The Incredibles appears here as a mime in the scene where Linguini and Colette are roller skating around Notre Dame. And his name additionally appears on a newspaper that Colette is reading.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Wow.
Okay. I've waited long enough. Fucking TJ, do the thing
All
that's
right,
going to make
all
it
right.
bait you.
All right, no. So I gotta say, I haven't watched Ratatouille since maybe last decade. Like it's been a long ass time. And I remember really enjoying it, and I started watching it, and I gotta say, I think it is Pixar's slowest movie. It takes the longest to ramp up. The opening was fairly slow. I still really enjoyed it. Like honestly, it is such a fun time. It's full of heart. It's funny. The concept of it, as Nick said, is just so out there that I was all for it. And the cast again is great. I wanted Kenneth, but no.
Give the DJ what he wants.
Exactly. God damn it.
Jack McBrayer, I believe, is the name of the actor.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Yes, I believe that is.
Sounds right.
And then it is also as we've said time and time again, it's the most beautiful. Like when Remy gets to Paris and climbs up on the roof and just overlooks Paris. At that moment, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this movie is like, I know I was the only one that said that Incredibles was the drop point because I don't think that movie looks that great. But this one all around has killed it. The people look great. Like the water looks great. The environments, everything in this movie looks phenomenal.
The water
It is
in particular,
Pixar's.
I just want to say the water in particular is a real flex because like this movie could have totally done without a big water scene, and yet they're right after Remy and the rest of the rats escape that old lady's house. They have a water rumble tumble ride down into the sewers that looks incredible. So kudos to them for doing that.
I mean, jumping back to our review of Finding Nemo, we know for that they had to scale back the quality of animation that they did for the water because people were freaking out. I think when they got to this point, knowing it was only really used in a couple of scenes, they said, fuck it, balls to the wall.
Yeah.
Let's throw everything at them. And I appreciate it.
It looks great.
Shows.
But one thing I kept coming to mind when I was watching this movie over and over again is that this movie needs to be remade. And with current like remakes and re-edits and that of movies coming around, I want to pitch you guys a movie.
Okay.
So, same movie, Remy the rat loves to cook. He wants to become a famous chef. He meets this dude, down his luck, lets him do it. But rats are known for one thing, really, and that's causing the plague. So, in my version
I don't like
of
where
this
this
movie,
is going.
in my version of this movie, Remy becomes a cook and takes over Gusteau's. But unknowingly is spreading this disease, which people go there, enjoy the meals, leave, go home, and all of a sudden they wake up craving brains. So my movie is going to be Zack Snyder's Ratatouille, and the tagline is "It's food, the food that's to die for."
Okay, I like the tagline and all that. However, there's a bit of a problem, TJ. So who here saw Your Friend the Rat, which is the DVD for Ratatouille, like short animated movie that like basically delves into like the history of rats' relationship with man. It's animated and not animated, but it's like co-hosted by Remy and Emile. Has anybody here seen it?
I've not.
It's like
I
the
will
Jack
say
Jack
this
Jack.
podcast sticks to theatrical shorts only, sir.
I understand. All the same, okay. In Your Friend the Rat, that particular short actually confirms some canonical information about Ratatouille that's not explicitly explained in Ratatouille. Like, for example, the fact that the specific breed of rats that Remy and his family are all from is the Norway rats. They are Norwegian rats. And in the short, Your Friend the Rat, they actually delve into the Black Plague in Europe in the 1300s. And at one point, they postulate, like, we don't really know what caused the end of the Black Plague, but some speculate that it was because of the introduction of Norway rats in Europe. The Black Plague was largely spread by black rats, Rattus rattus, and Norway rats' introduction basically allowed the plague to kind of
Balance
fizzle
the
out.
ecosystem. Yeah.
So biologically, I'm actually not certain if your plot would work out, TJ.
Zack Snyder will make it work.
Okay,
Yeah.
so to completely ignore everything TJ said because I hate it, Jack McBrayer has not yet appeared in a Pixar animated film. He did voice Fix-It Felix Jr. in Wreck-It Ralph and the sequel Ralph Breaks the Internet for Walt Disney Animation Studios, as well as providing voices for Phineas and Ferb, Jake and the Neverland Pirates, Wander Down Yonder, Milo Murphy's Law, The Lion Guard, the DuckTales reboot, and Amphibia, but has yet to provide a voice in a Pixar animated film.
Get on it, Pixar.
That's okay. Zack Snyder can just recast Alfredo.
I hate this. I want to move on from this.
Yo,
Carmi's Corner.
Wait,
Nope.
wait.
Ugh.
But
You know you love it.
one stipulation, TJ.
What's that?
Linguini, voiced by Michael Cera.
Let's get into Carmi's Corner.
As
My
long
wife
as he
comes in and
catches
talks
the
about what
plague,
she
we're
thoughts
cool.
about the movie and get the theories and speculations and fun stuff, not like what TJ's doing. So, Nick,
I mean,
cue the music.
Is TJ not conspiracying right now with the Snyder Cut?
Cue the
You
music.
know you would all watch that movie. You
I
spent
would.
4 hours
I
on
did.
Justice League. You totally fucking watch Ratatouille by Zack Snyder.
Cue the music. She's already here.
Carmi's Corner, conspiracies and other stuff. Definitely not Zack Snyder. Oh, wow.
Is that you
Hi,
saying that
Carmen.
that Carmen is definitely not Zack
No,
Snyder?
well, maybe. I mean, the thought was her conspiracies aren't at that of a Zack Snyder cut of Ratatouille. Because how much while we're waiting, how much do you think that would be like for in reshoots?
I mean, it'd be easy because it's animation.
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
Probably
definitely.
cheaper and better than the Justice League one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I have one stipulation for your cut as well, TJ. Well,
What's
your Zack Snyder cut. Instead of him being on top of the head and controlling it, he has to crawl inside the people.
Oh.
Done. You know
It's
what?
in slow motion. They fall down in slow
Do it,
motion.
yeah.
Carmen's here. Can we do that thing instead of talking about
Carmen,
killing people from the
would
inside out?
you,
Yeah.
Carmen,
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
you watch a cut of Ratatouille done by Zack Snyder where it's
It's all
about
music
Remy
and people
giving
walking
people the
around,
black
no.
And
plague?
slow-mo.
In slow-mo.
Carmi's Corner.
Hello.
Howdy.
Hello.
Oh my gosh. Sorry. Technical difficulties today. The headphones I usually wear, they're zapping me in both ears, so I had to switch.
It's the shock
Oh
headphones.
dear.
Okay. So, conspiracy theory for today. First off, this is my favorite Disney movie of all time and in my top movies of all time.
Oh, wow.
So, TJ, I didn't hear your review, but I swear.
Is he ego? Is he
Down
ego?
it goes.
You're the tiebreaker, so at the end of the day, you get to
I
fuck
know.
him up, so it's
I
fine.
know.
Fuck him up.
Okay. So here we go. So this was from cinemablend.com.
I love that.
So in 2019 or 2017, sorry, there was a theory that came out and Brad Bird shut it down in 2000, like 2 years later, 2019. So it reads this from Movie Easter Eggs and Details
On Twitter.
on Twitter. In Ratatouille, when Anton tastes Remy's ratatouille, he is reminded of his mother's cooking. There's a few hidden details that suggest that Remy grew up in Anton's mother's house to learn how to cook by watching Anton's mother. So that was the theory. Okay. And sadly, it
What
wasn't
are
true.
what are some
Sorry.
of those details?
Oh, so
It's basically the same house
basically the same house.
as the old woman at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, but like, how old Remy? Like, does he? How old do rats age?
Oh, I don't think rats live that long. That's
Yeah,
that's
like,
why I
they
think
live
it's-
forever.
movie,
How does
suspension
this work?
of disbelief. Also, Brad Bird
I mean-
shut it down anyway.
Also,
Brad-
rats don't
Brad
cook,
Bird.
so.
They also, they usually don't walk on two legs either.
Okay, so from Brad Bird said, well, I'd love to confirm that we're in an oh my gosh, I can't even speak. Hey, Mitch, go ahead.
Well,
Sorry,
I'd
guys.
love to confirm that we were ultra deep thinkers and that there was a narrative behind the narrative, but when I took over the film, we had a hellacious deadline and only 2 of the film's many sets had been built. Truth is, we were just trying to reuse props when we could.
Oh.
Fair enough.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
Sounds like he's
Like-
covering it up.
Covering up that conspiracy.
Covering up your conspiracies,
I
Remy.
know. So yeah, that was basically the only thing that I found for theories, sadly. But yeah, like it would have been cool. But like, how would she always be like making the same thing, and that's how she learned in it, or that's how he learned how to cook? Because he would always
His cooking reminds him of his mother's cooking.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You
the
know,
film,
in
fun
in,
parallel to draw.
Yeah.
in a shocking twist for this segment, I may have a conspiracy.
How dare you?
How many guns are in this movie? Are we sure this isn't America? Are we sure this isn't actually taking place in America and this is just little Paris? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
There
for
are
whatever
a lot
reason,
of guns.
there's a
for
lot
whatever
of
reason,
guns.
there are most of the characters
the
have
best one. My favorite scene is when he's running through the
vents.
I guess the
Yeah.
vents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, yo, are we sure this isn't America?
I mean,
I
I feel
died.
like, Nick, you're hitting on an interesting kind of point, which is that oftentimes when American cinema depicts other countries, yeah, they tend to supplant, aspects of American life, of American existence into those countries that isn't actually reflective of the way those countries are. I feel like another example of this on the subject of guns is Japan, where there are so many like American produced movies that are set in Japan where there are guns with bullets flowing left and right. And in reality, Japan, a country that is very gun light in terms of there being guns per square capita there.
That's a
I mean, the other thing too to note is most of the characters in this movie have a French accent. The ones who don't are either rats or Alfredo Linguini
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Or ego.
and Ego.
Oh,
yeah,
Ego's British.
Which,
Yeah.
Cozy, you tweeted this, and it's something that I could not get out of my mind. The entire movie is why is France's top critic fucking English?
Yeah. Yeah, it's confusing. It's confusing.
All right. I think with that we could bid farewell to my lovely wife as we wrap up Carmi's Corner and get into the plot of the movie.
Yes.
Goodbye, Carmi.
I'm very excited to hear TJ's take in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep, 2 weeks. Totally.
All right.
Conspiracies and other stuff. It's Kami's Corner. Kami's Corner.
Before we get into the plot, 2 things with this gun talk. One, that scene where they shoot and it's like, oh, it's me, like it got me,
Yeah.
killed me.
Oh yeah. Very
Also, one that I almost wanted to put in how does this work just because of the sheer idiocy of it. Who the fuck tries to kill a rat with a goddamn shotgun.
It's literally a Family Guy bit.
We're gonna get it.
It's a Family Guy bit where like they're like, "Oh, you get out of here, you fly, you son of a
Like-
bitch." Anyways, go ahead.
We get into the plot.
Yeah. That's what
Plot. Okay, plot. So, film opens on the French national anthem playing over exposition regarding Chef Cousteau losing his star, Anton Ego essentially killing him with a bad review, and the tagline that anyone can cook. We're then shown a rainy house as we're introduced to the film's protagonist, Remy, somehow leaping through a window, holding a book, destroying the window, and not dying in some way.
very much having the. I just want to say, very much having the. I bet you wonder how I got here.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. I love this movie very, very much. However, we are very, very early into our recap of the movie, and we actually already arrived at the one thing I like the least about this movie, and it's the narrations.
Yeah.
I really don't appreciate them on 3 different levels. First off, I feel like they explain things that aren't already pretty explicitly apparent on screen. And it's one of those things where I was thinking to myself, like, are they narrating some of these scenes so that kids in the audience can help better grasp what's going on? But I mean, at least from my perspective, I don't really know that the narration is serving that purpose, especially considering that some of the narrations get kind of wordy and a little bit abstract in terms of what Patton Oswalt is thinking. Number 2, I feel like the way that Patton Oswalt delivers some of his lines is a little bit weird. This is a bit of a weird reference, but some of them reminded me of what's his name from Fight Club, Edward Norton.
Oh yeah.
It reminded me of some of Edward Norton's narrations from Fight Club, like the part later on in the movie where a bunch of people in Paris pelt Remy with wine bottles, and then he goes into another narration. It was like, this sounds like Edward Norton talking about, I am Jack's last reward. I'm Jack's something or other. Just the way that he delivered his line reminded me a lot of that. And number 3, I just find that the narrations happen infrequently enough that when a new narration happens, it's more confusing than natural feeling. It reminds me, to reference another movie again, it reminds me a lot of the narration in Terminator 2, where in that movie, Sarah Connor also narrates the plot, but very occasionally. And so the movie will go like an entire half hour, 45 minutes, and then all of a sudden Sarah Connor's like, I knew as I looked into the boy that he would only accept the machine to... And it's like, all right, we get it. But much like Terminator 2, still a fantastic movie, even with the occasional awkward narration.
Sticking with Remy for a second.
I don't know if anybody has any disagreements on any of the points I raised, but
I think I agree
Fair
on
take.
all of them, but the last one,
Yes.
with the review. I think the review, like when they talk about it, is the most like talking about like Anton's review and what happened to the restaurant afterwards. I think is a great way to close it. But I think I agree with you with the rest of them.
Sticking with Remy for a bit, Pixar actually kept pet rats around the studio for over a year so that animators had references for how to animate rats. Also, movie had a really difficult time with marketing. Not a lot of food product companies want to be associated with a rat movie. So in trying to market a movie about a cooking rat, you're gonna have issues trying to find partners.
Right, and then there was the Ratatouille themed wine, which they were able to get together successfully, but then they had to discontinue it because they didn't want it to be appealing to children.
Yeah,
It makes sense.
yeah. I mean, the other thing too is they just had a difficult time with the name of the movie. So much so that they actually included the phonetics on how to pronounce the word in the logo for the film.
Mm-hmm. I remember
Which
that
is just
distinctly.
Craziness, but love it. You love to see them making an effort. Either way, back to Remy. How did he end up here? Well, it turns out he likes to smell things really, really good, and that leads to him wanting to cook for some reason. But as he's doing the smelling and the cooking and the noises and the colors and all this weird juxtaposition that isn't needed, the family kind of realizes that his good nose could be good for finding poison because he saves his brother from eating poison. So he ends up becoming the family's poison checker.
So, I do things during this. One, does rat poison smell? I've never had rat poison, so now I'm just curious. Like,
Please don't. No.
Don't
I mean, there is only one way to find out.
No snow.
I'm not saying go try. I'm just
Nobody-
saying I need to know.
YYZ and Press YYZ does not condone sniffing
Huffing
or
rat
huffing
poison.
rat poison. I just want to put that out.
Avoid rat poison at all costs is the official message that we're putting out as Press YYZ.
The other thing is that, man, I wish when I had tastes, I had the Windows Media Player equalizer behind me, because that just could like sent me. Like,
I'm always down for smooth jazz accompanying all of my meals for some reason. Either way, there's a really fun exchange between him and his brother, Remy, his brother's dad, about why are we stealing stuff no one wants? And if no one wants it, why are we stealing it? Like, it's not stealing if no one actually wants it, this whole thing. And just staying away from humans, staying out of the kitchen because it's not safe. But Remy needs to cook, which makes no sense to his brother, but he does it anyway and finds this mushroom that he pairs with some rosemary and some dew. Not
Cheese
Mountain Dew,
dew.
not Baja Blast, but just like grass dew.
Yeah.
And needs to cook it just a little bit. So he decides to do it over the chimney of the old woman's house and ends up making it a little lightning-y
On the
after getting struck by lightning and still not dying.
on the point of Dew and Mountain Dew, I just want to have a short segment where I go off of what TJ says and we make another directed. I don't know who's going to direct this, but we're just gonna have Remy making all these like bro foods. So we got like fucking Four Loko and like some Doritos, you know, and it'll be called Ratatouille. Rad. R-A-D.
Okay.
I'm in.
I do-
Michael Bay's Ratatouille.
I'm not.
I do want to say with regards to the dew part that I know we're all kind of criticizing, like, what, dew off of a piece of grass? Like, how is that flavorful at all? But I'd imagine that being a rat, things that are not overly flavorful to us are probably very flavorful to them. Much in the same way that like a carrot is like super sugary to a horse, for example.
Yeah.
Understandable, but it seems like he has a good grasp of human taste buds because he keeps making food that people like, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, so we keep going. Remy realizes he needs something out of the kitchen, and we get this whole introduction of Gusteau's the cookbook. Everyone can cook, continuing to reinforce this theme throughout the movie of anyone can achieve whatever they want to do, regardless of the obstacles life puts in their way. But I mean, Gusteau is also killed by a broken heart from a bad review, either that or obesity. One or the other.
Same way Padme died, you know?
He lost his will to live.
Either way, on trying to round up some saffron in the kitchen, Remy's met by a shotgun-wielding grandma. Because why the fuck not?
The fact that
Either
she
way-
chases them out of the room and continues to... First off, she has like this fumigator just cuz. The gas mask
And a
maybe
gas
makes sense.
mask.
That kind of makes a little bit more sense if she grew up in France at the time when she would have been growing up. That probably that works out just a little bit. But, you know, having the fumigator and then just chasing 1,000 rats with a shotgun, you know.
And
Well,
just
yeah,
blowing
the
their
whole
house.
colony is exposed after she blows, 9 or 10 holes into her house to try to kill a
Which-
single rat?
Great reveal, by the way, because it's one of those things where, like, if you're paying close attention to the background in the scenes leading up to this with the rats, you can tell, like, that kind of looks like a ceiling, but you don't truly know where it is that they're living until this scene happens. And again, great reveal.
Yeah. So as Alex said, she chases them out of the house. For whatever reason, keeps the gas mask on, I guess for dramatic effect, as she continues to fire the shotgun at these rats. Remy jumps into the water after his family on the cookbook. How is this cookbook not absolutely destroyed? We do see later the edges are a little watery, but like this book should have not survived that water.
Yeah.
Not in the condition it did, at least.
So, before we continue, I've got two things here as well. One, at one point, Remy's dad says to him, "Food is fuel," and in my mind, I'm just like, so Remy's dad has the opposite view than Bruce the Shark. Food is fuel, not friends.
Fisher friends,
it
not
just-
food.
Except for stinking
It stuck with me. And then first part of how does this work?
Here we are.
So I'm gonna say blanketly what, and then I'll explain my thought here.
Okay.
How does rats work?
How does
Okay. That is what I have written down. My
It's a
rationale
goddamn
here,
movie is how.
My rationale here, okay, is that they just want to be rats and eat garbage. But they have an organized society, and my rationale here is they've made boats that are ready to escape. They don't want to steal from the kitchen, but they've stolen spatulas and forks and shit to build these boats. They have organized strike teams. At one point in the movie, they yell, "Delta Squad, go!" And at one point, they play instruments, which I'll get into that a little later. But they can play instruments. But cooking is a step too far. We've built boats. We've made instruments. But no, we can't compare strawberries and cheese. What the fuck?
I told you we'd be getting the whole helping of
I
how
just
does
ate
this
all.
work.
It blows my mind. Like, cooking is a step too far. But everything else is fine. They probably sent a rat to the moon. But no. God
In
damn.
the sewers, Remy is, separated from his family and nearly drowns in what is beautifully animated water.
Beautifully animated drowning.
Yeah.
And as Remy, reminisces on his life with grandma, with his only friend, the cookbook, is driven to hallucinations via hunger and starts hallucinating that Gusteau is his buddy, even though he's not. He is a figment of his imagination. Either way, we get this montage of Remy traveling through various apartments, trying to scrounge up some food. This is where we see the party. This is where he gets shot at, followed by some making out. And this is where we actually see Doug from Disney Pixar's
Saw
Up.
that. Yep.
Yeah.
So, something that I only noticed this time around on my most recent rewatch of Ratatouille, do we think that the scene that happens later on where Remy makes Linguini kiss Madame Tattoo is inspired by this sequence where he witnesses the couple in the middle of a domestic dispute begin making out?
Maybe.
I didn't think of it, but yeah, I think I could
That's a-
definitely see that.
That's a great poll, Cozy.
It could be just
Yeah.
total coincidence, but I
makes
wouldn't
sense.
put it past Pixar to plan out things in that way.
Yeah.
Either way, we do see a silhouette of a dog that very closely resembles Doug from Disney Pixar's Up, which will not release for, I think, 2 years
Yeah.
at this point, or 3 after this movie. So Pixar continuing to plant those seeds very early of characters we will grow to love later on. Remy comes to the realization that he's been under Paris all along, and all of Gusteau's advice has driven him to Gusteau's restaurant. We get our first glimpse into that kitchen, and it just makes you want to watch the Food Network all day, because that's what it is.
Oh yeah, it made me want to go cook.
Yeah. So
Maybe wanna
we meet the kitchen staff. We meet Linguini. Why is he the only human character without a French accent other than Anton Ego? We do not know. Because his name is goddamn Linguini. So if it wasn't French, it sure as shit should have been Italian. Either way, he gets a job in the kitchen. He's familiar, or the kitchen staff and Chef Skinner are familiar with his mother, who was an old flame with Gusteau, so they kind of throw him a bone. And there's this fun exchange between Gusteau's hallucination and Remy about like pointing out the different roles in the kitchen. And then there's this busboy who starts to cook, and he should not, because he absolutely destroys that soup. Which Remy attempts to bail him out, but we get this fun montage of Remy getting tossed around the kitchen and all this stuff, and being chased, or not chased, but like trying to hide and duck his way under all the thingamajiggers and everything in the kitchen, which is actually the basis for the only theme park ride based on Ratatouille.
Pixar guys, we're talking about them theme park rides, yeah.
Welcome again to Pixar Guys Talk Theme Park Rides, and today we will be talking about Ratatouille l'aventure totalement toquée de Remy. also known as Ratatouille, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, a motion-based trackless 3D dark ride located at Walt Disney Studios Park in Disneyland Paris, and opening October 1st, 2021 at the France Pavilion at Walt Disney World's Epcot in Orlando, Florida.
Damn.
In Disneyland Paris, there's a whole area themed after the movie. There's a Parisian cafe. There's all this really fun stuff. And there was actually an issue when this ride first opened. It was one of the first big attractions to sort of relaunch Disneyland Paris, because we know when the when Euro Disney, as it was formerly known, was first announced and opened, really poor attendance, didn't really tried to Americanize the experience and didn't really make it culturally relevant to those in France. When Bob Iger took over as the CEO of the Walt Disney Company, one of his core philosophies was trying to bring more of that regional understanding to the parks. And one of the first things they did was retheme a lot of, well, the first thing they did was bring alcohol to the parks, which was not a thing at any Disney park at the time. And then also this attraction, along with some more culturally significant dining and options around the attraction, really drove up attendance. And then in 2017, Disney Parks announced that they would be bringing a version of this ride to Epcot's France Pavilion at the Walt Disney World Resort, along with a creperie. It was planned to open for the 50th anniversary of the Walt Disney World Resort, which is 2021. 2021, it is kind of still a shit show. So they're actually making that celebration 18 months long, and the attraction will open this upcoming October. But the ride has you in these sort of like trackless rat cars, and they push you through all the scenes of this. You are essentially the rat scurrying through this kitchen, and it's really cool. I cannot wait to ride this.
Is it, in fact, I mean, they have a missed opportunity, and a missed lawsuit, if you will, because it should have been called Rat Race.
Cuba Gooding Jr. is going to come for you.
And that's been Pixar Guys Talk Theme Park Rides.
Whoa, Pixar Guys, we're talking about
All right.
damn theme park rides. Whoa!
So we're back at it. Remy decides that he's going to fix this soup. Linguini still thinks it's his soup, even though he's seen the rat. There's all this stuff. They're chasing this rat through the kitchen, but the soup goes out either way, and the customers love it. But it's not Linguini's soup. It is Remy's soup.
I just want to say I love, and this was in the trailer, so I remember this from the trailer as well. But seeing the where Remy's just like, you know, like magnificently just putting all these different ingredients into the soup, and then he's just about to put the last ingredient in, and it's the swivel over the linguine. It's so great. I love that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Actually, fun fact here, Remy, something Pixar really loves is hair for whatever reason. So the average human being has about 110,000 hairs, right? Colette, who we've met in this scene working at the restaurant, has roughly 115,000 hairs rendered on her head. By comparison, Remy has roughly 1.15 million hairs rendered in his model, which is another reason why none of the human characters in this movie have toes. To cut down on rendering time, there are no toes shown in the entirety of this movie from human characters.
The Fire Emblem effect.
The Fire Emblem effect, as it were, yes. Or the who's that terrible artist for Marvel Comics in the 90s who couldn't draw feet?
Deadpool creator.
Tom McFarlane?
Rob. No, isn't it?
No, Rob.
Rob
Liefeld?
Liefeld.
Rob Liefeld.
The creator of Deadpool. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Either way, the whole kitchen freaks out over Remy. They tell Linguini to kill him, but elsewhere, so that because a rat in the kitchen will shut it down. Some foreshadowing for later. Linguini takes him to the river, is about to drown him in this bottle, which is why does this movie keep wanting to drown things? It's just
It's about to give him some men's shoes.
Kill things. I
Basically.
murder is strong in this movie.
He was just there being like, hey, check out how good this water looks, and then accidentally dropped him.
Nick,
I'm sure there was an
murder is
outtake
strong
where
in
that
this.
did happen.
So Zack Snyder's Ratatouille, not far off.
I mean,
Either way, Linguini somehow comes to the realization that this rat can understand him, which shouldn't make sense, but it does. and strikes a deal where he's going to help him cook because the rat can cook, and Linguini is a human being with hands that can do the cooking without rousing suspicion. And there's this fun exchange where he lets Remy out. Remy books it as he should because that would be the smart thing to do, but then ends up coming back and compromising and working with Linguini.
So I've got a how does this work here? And I could literally do this at a couple points in the movie, but I'm doing it right here.
All right.
Remy can understand and read English. Why can't he speak it?
French. They're in France.
He's also a rat.
Yeah, you got me.
He's not reading English.
I say, you got me.
Oh shit! That's how he can't speak English.
Hold on.
Is this
TJ,
the first
do you want me
canonical
to
solving of the how does this work?
hold on, TJ? Do you want me to avenge you with a how does this work on top of the one that you just attempted? Okay. So we establish in this movie that, Remy's entire clan of rats are pretty smart. It stands to reason that most other rats in the world of Ratatouille are pretty smart. So how is it at this point, if the rats are so brazen about not trying to hide their intelligence, that more of humanity doesn't know about their intelligence?
Because every single Toy Story rules, don't show yourself to humans.
But every single Pixar movie up until this point has been, hey, the fish are secretly really intelligent, or the toys are really secretly intelligent, but they don't really to show off their intelligence to the humans. But in this movie, the rats build those boats, and they don't attempt to hide them from the old grandma. Remy doesn't attempt to hide his knowledge from. I mean, that's true, but
they also didn't have a choice to show themselves.
Are they just very specific? We will only show off our intelligence if we feel like we're in a scenario where it won't be blown open into the mainstream that this is a thing.
The toys in Toy Story did that in the first one with Sid. They only revealed themselves when they were in mortal danger.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know.
A pretty common Pixar trope.
They do also, they kidnap two people at the end of the movie and toss them into the storage room.
We'll get there. We will get there. In the meantime, we get a scene the following morning where Linguini wakes up, thinks this has all been a fever dream, and that the rats run away. Turns out he was just making itty-bitty omelets.
It was so cute. So cute.
So cute, but still stealing. No stealing. No stealing. He'll get you the ingredients. Either way, they get to the restaurant, and they try to figure out a system that will work, which includes Remy running up and down this man's body and biting the shit out of his nipples for some reason. He gets to do an exchange with Remy in the cold storage where they're arguing and yelling about stuff. There's actually a scene somewhere in here, I don't remember exactly where it is, where Linguini puts Remy down his pants. And when he does that, if you look really closely at his underwear, you see the Incredibles logo.
I didn't notice that.
More evidence of the Incredibles being in the same world as Ratatouille. Either way, they do end up coming up with a kind of system, kind of by accident, when Skinner interrupts them in the cold storage of Remy's put on his head under his hat or his cozy. You do the correct word because I'm going to butcher it. Toque. Thank you.
By the way, that was totally off the top of my head. I'm like, oh shit! I feel like it either is or isn't toque, and I'm going to be made a fool if I.
It's something like that,
wrong.
Isn't it
toque? I think it's toque.
Toque, I think so.
Toque, but I think it's spelled the same way as toque.
I'm confident that
we're in the ballpark of what it should actually be called.
Yeah,
I mean
TOQUE, toque.
So
here's the thing. Having briefly pulled up the Wikipedia entry, I believe that you're correct that toque is the more accurate pronunciation. The thing is that
I'm sorry
because the word toque is also synonymous with smoking marijuana.
It's not only toque, but it is the fact what TJ said, where this isn't that kind of podcast.
Not yet, it isn't.
In Quebec, toque with the hard U sound is like what you refer to when you have a nice woolly, very embarrassing looking winter hat. Exactly.
I mean, we use toque in Ontario as well. I actually used that earlier. We were talking about me trying to figure out how to buy some Pokemon cards. because we all know me.
So,
and I use the word toque, and our American friends are like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But beanie.
Yeah, so that's why toque was my go-to pronunciation, but I believe that actually toque might be more accurate. But if you're somebody who's truly familiar with the culinary arts, let us know.
Yeah, leave a comment below about how dumb this whole conversation has been about whether it's toque or toque. Either way, hiding under the chef hat, pulling on hair is what they realize they can do to make this kind of not look super embarrassing, but still have it look embarrassing.
The hair pulling thing. I was going to throw it in, how does this work? But I'm not going to lie, I sat there, I was just like, and nothing happened. It's fucking dumb.
There's one point. No, I thought about that too. Because, like, oh, yeah, it's dumb, and, like, it is what I'm like, it is what it is. You gotta suspend your disbelief. There is literally, watching Remy cook things in the apartment, there's one point where Remy, like, moves the hair like this, and it cracks the egg, and I'm like, no.
Which, I will say,
he's not
in my notes,
anything.
That, like, the way, what you're describing is in the movie, at points, he's not, like, moving it back and forth, he's actually essentially just holding it, cutting
together.
what it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to put forward that Ratatouille is the original inspiration for Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim.
Ooh.
I can dig
Because
it.
they control the Jaeger.
He's the Jaeger.
Just like they do.
Linguini's a Jaeger.
Linguini's a Jaeger. This is a great podcast.
I'm having a blast.
See, you switch the Zack Snyder for GDT, and I
Ooh.
am there. And
I take GDT's
there.
Ratatouille in a heartbeat.
You know what?
100%.
As long as someone gets the plague, we're good.
I think
don't care who
like
directs
he
it.
could actually do it very good.
Oh, then you could have, who's the Will Arnett guy? He could beat someone to death with a bottle.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
Or a
Just
thumb.
like in
Or a
Pan's
thumb.
Or a thumb. Oh, that would be so cool.
Oh.
We could see him do it.
You get the flashbacks to World War II of this dude killing a guy with his thumb. It turns out it was Linguini's mother.
Whoa!
We're just going so many layers deep here.
I
Colette is
didn't
put
know
in
it was
charge
Chris
of
Nolan.
Linguini's training in the kitchen after he proves himself to be able to recreate the soup that he did on the first night. And we find out that Chef Skinner is continuing to use Gusteau's image to sell really terrible frozen meals, almost akin to one Chef Boyardee, whom Anton Ego compares Gusteau to in his review that ultimately killed Gusteau.
Also, those caricatures of Gusteau as like wearing a rice hat and like wearing a sombrero are so offensive. They're super offensive, but I know that that's kind of like the point. Is it supposed to be kind of like, this is kind of fucked up that you're taking this dude? I just wanted to point that out because I never really connected the dots about like, oh yeah, this is actually really kind of on them.
Yep.
Also, how dare they? How dare they take the Boyardee name in vain? Let me tell you.
Fun fact, Chef Boyardee was a well-respected real-life Italian chef who was named Boyardee. Spelt differently, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that.
Let me tell you, that man got me through many a middle school day with that canned ravioli and spaghetti and meatballs.
Either way,
Uncle Ben
Skinner
was also a real person.
Skinner goes through Renata's letter. Turns out Linguini's actually Gusteau's son. Linguini is the heir to Gusteau's legacy, and it's very, opportunistic that he appeared when he did, because there was only a month to spare between when he died and Skinner would actually, inherit all of the Gusteau-ness of the stuff. So he starts to get super paranoid, especially the fact that he's seeing this rat everywhere now. We fast forward to that evening, or an evening at the restaurant, and the customers are expecting something new. And here's where the Ratzenberger comes out, because he starts freaking the hell out, and that French accent completely falls apart, and you get some good old Ratzenberger.
Yeah.
Either way, Skinner tasks Linguini with cooking a dish that was not successful of Gusteau's, and Colette's been teaching him the whole way up to this point of just follow the recipe. Remy doesn't do that. He makes Linguini do a bunch of weird, awkward looking shit. How is none of this suspicious to everybody working in that restaurant? The dude looks like a piece of pasta working in a kitchen.
Which I gotta say that I think that's probably the most like blowing away animation thing was just the awkward movements that Linguini does as he's like standing up and being controlled by Remy. It's just like the fact that they were able to think of that and make it look so like fake real. It just got me.
It looks like a marionette being manipulated, and as a
And
result, whenever you see that, your mind visually recognizes, oh, okay, this is Linguini being manipulated versus this is Linguini not being manipulated.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get a scene later on, which I guess we can talk about now, where Linguini is passed out and Remy does the same thing, and that is literally Weekend at Bernie's in a Pixar movie, it's so good. I was so in for it. It's so fun.
I love the like that. It just got me. It's so funny. It's so good.
Funny. Either way, Remy makes some changes to the dish. Turns out it's a hit. Linguini's, given all this credit, all this praise for something he didn't even do. And Chef Skinner continues to be uber paranoid about this entire situation because he keeps seeing Remy everywhere, even though he doesn't, but he does. It's a whole thing. At this point, Remy's reunited with his brother, Emile, outside the restaurant. And it's, great. You're not dead. Cool. Remy tries to teach Emile about food, and he does the whole smooth jazz thing, and it almost kind of works. But then Remy's reunited with his dad, who has to remind him that you can't spend time with these humans because they literally want to kill all of us. And he shows him this really creepy ass exterminator shop, based on a real exterminator shop, by the way. That is an actual thing in Paris, France. That shop.
I was gonna ask, why would you hang actual rats?
100%. That was
It's a remnant of the plague era of the aversion to having rats anywhere. But it's a real place. I'll pull it up while you talk more about rats.
See, I was gonna say earlier, he literally takes Remy to go look at war crimes, essentially. It's horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's horrifying, as a human, seeing all those
the shop. The shop is known as Destruction des Animaux Nuisibles, an exterminator established in the year 1872, located at 8 Rue des Halles in the 1st arrondissement in Paris, France.
Before we continue, though, how does this work? This part bugged the shit out of me, and honestly, probably spent most of my time out of the rest of the movie thinking about this. There's a rat band during this. And they have an accordion. They've got a fucking cello made of a thing. Dude's playing the paperclip.
Yes.
It's a paperclip, an instrument.
I mean, if a washboard's an instrument, a paperclip is an instrument.
But he's blowing into it.
Yeah.
A paperclip is not a woodwind instrument.
I am so glad you brought this up, TJ, because I thought the very same thing. I'm like, if anything, it would sound like a boom, I feel like it wouldn't be like a, fluty sort of.
It make more sense as the guitar than anything.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a dog whistle situation where the rats perceive sound on a different wavelength than we would normally perceive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe.
We are seeing this world through Remy's eyes, so we are presumably, the character you are trying to see yourself as is Remy. So we are essentially rats as we watch this movie.
I don't have a paperclip. I'm looking for one.
We are
keep
rats.
looking for your paperclip. We'll keep talking about more of the conversation between Remy and his father here is very, it keeps driving home the points of the movie, the themes around, accepting the status quo or being the change you want to be in the world, do what you want to do or be who you want to be. Don't let others decide that for you. And then we get the whole marionette thing with Linguini wakes him up because Skinner got him piss-ass drunk and then forced him to stay behind to clean the kitchen. We get a fun exchange between Colette and Linguini. She reveals all these insecurities she has about her in the kitchen to him. And Remy totally, wingmans Linguini, and they're going to bone a lot.
Which, I gotta say, this romance felt very shoehorned to me.
It did. 100%.
Yeah.
I think the movie could have, it's still, this doesn't, make it a worse movie. But I felt like it could not have been there, and I would have been just as happy.
I wish it wasn't. I wish they were just partners. Like,
it's funny because this is
business
only the second Pixar movie that we've seen to this point where the main protagonist doesn't have a love interest.
Mhm.
The other one being Sully in Monsters Inc.
Mhm.
But side characters or like protagonist adjacent characters do in both films. That being Mike Wazowski and Linguini here. But we do see that drives a wedge between the two, and it is nice to see it presented in a way that isn't just guy chasing girl as we get in most movies. It is this flame, and I mean Paris is known for romance. Seeing that explored in a French themed film, and how it drives a wedge between the two main protagonists of the film.
I'm curious, what would the two of you have liked to have seen in this relationship to have it feel more believable to the two of you? Because one thing I noted watching this movie is, like, unlike a lot of other Pixar movies, which seem to take place over the span of maybe a few days or even hours, this Pixar movie in particular takes place over the course of months. Yeah. And so when the kiss happened, I'm like, oh, okay, I buy it on the basis that it has been actually quite a bit of time. In movie watching time, it's only been a few minutes, but I understand that they've had weeks and weeks for this relationship to build up.
I think personally for me, I think they didn't really do too much to build it up. Besides, like, it seemed like to me the relationship was much more of a business partner sort of thing, where it's like I'm trying to help you better your craft, you help me better my craft, and it just was forced into a romance. I feel like if it was like a playful here's and there's, and all that, I feel like it would have maybe gone a little bit further on screen. I mean, obviously there is like like you said, Cozy, the things of like it's been a few months, so there are things that could have gone on, but I think on screen we could have seen some of that if that was something that they were driving towards.
Yeah, and for me, I felt like 100% agree. Like, I feel like off screen, enough time had passed, but wasn't enough showed on screen that kind of built the relationship and made it feel worthwhile to me. And then my biggest issue with it, I would say, is like I see it as a mentee-mentor relationship where Colette is the mentor. And he's the mentee. But at the start, when she goes to start the mentor, there's literally the scene where she's stabbing knives in his sleeve, saying like, see how many women are in this kitchen? Like, this is a man's world. I'm a woman making into it. And then just to, like, I'm not saying that her character is boiled down to this, but to have it where, this is a man's world, and then she's trying to prove herself, and then she starts a romantic relationship with a new guy. Well, I just feel like it's kind of...
Yeah, and it's the thing of, like, she kind of... She doesn't give up her dream, but it's like it's through a man's eyes, where I feel like a more powerful thing is if she were the one to get the restaurant, if Linguini were to bequeath the restaurant, or not bequeath, send it, will it out to her,
put her in charge, make it her kitchen.
Make it her kitchen, because that would be such a great payoff. And I think that it's relegated to they're in love and they have a thing to. Yeah, they have a business together, rather than this is like her dream and she chooses to follow it, or she chooses to give it up, and like in a joint partnership. So
either way, at this point, the private investigator that Skinner had hired to look into Linguini confirms, based on some DNA samples they took, Linguini is in fact Gusto's son. But we continue to drive the neuroses of Chef Skinner, because the first test result, it came back as rodent DNA.
Which there's a part here where the lawyer is like the guy's going off about the rat, like the rat, and the lawyer's just staring at him with the most shocked face. And he's like, "Is the rat important?" Yeah,
we continue to see Skinner, delve into madness as this rat haunts his every moment. Either way, we further see the rift forming between Remy and Linguini as his relationship with Colette continues to blossom. For whatever reason, this drives Remy to act more like a rat, because I guess it's just about him trying to be accepted by somebody, because right now he's not accepted by anybody. So he starts stealing for his family and his brother, and then his brother's friends. One of Emil's friends has an ear tag, the big guy, right? Mm-hmm. That ear tag reads A113.
I was going to say, is that what this is?
And A113, for those who don't know, is one of the rooms at the animation school at the university in California that many Pixar alum attended before the company was formed. and even.
I thought when you brought up the ear tag just now, Mitch, I thought you were going to lead into some conspiracy theory people have about how like this rat hailed from like some sort of laboratory where they were experimenting
Viking
on rats,
rats.
and that explains why the rats are super intelligent or something along those lines.
I mean,
Nope,
I feel like
just a 113.
I feel like with like there's a few rats in this movie that are just giant. They're just buff as shit. I feel like that would explain more than
Just-
like, the hyper intelligence.
It's T-virus rats.
Yeah, it's Nemesis rat.
Guillermo del Toro's Justice League.
Yeah.
Or Ratatouille.
Yo, I'll take that too. I'll take that too.
Oh, just anybody that isn't Zack Snyder. Okay, either way, Remy discovers the truth about Linguini being Gusto's son by discovering the paperwork that's in Skinner's office, which leads to Skinner chasing a rat through the city after he steals all his documents. So we get a weird chase of a crazy dude in the street chasing after a rat. But here we do actually catch a glimpse of another Pixar staple, the Pizza Planet truck. Did anyone
even
catch
see
the
it.
Pizza Planet truck in this scene?
Nope.
I did not.
Where is it?
So the Pizza Planet truck, as he's chasing it, we see some scenes that we get a shot of like a bridge in the background, kind of. And if you look really closely, the Pizza Planet truck is driving along that bridge.
Oh.
In Paris, France, of all places.
I was gonna say, it seems a little bit Boyardee for France.
Just a little. Either way, this is a really fun chase scene. I thought there was like animators had a lot of fun with this, including the water and the effect of Remy basically flying with the paper.
It got me when Skinner jumps and he grabs the tablecloth and yanks it out perfectly.
I
That was
feel
really
like
good.
this whole sequence, I feel reminiscent isn't the right word because this is a movie that would come out after Ratatouille, but you can definitely see the DNA in this sequence that would lead to Brad Bird being able to, pull off Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol a few years later.
100%.
And I'm going to have I'm the hot take one here. That Ghost Protocol, best Mission Impossible movie.
I don't think
Agreed.
that's that hard of a take.
Yeah,
No,
it's
it's a
like I
lukewarm
honestly
take.
think it's like I think it's like one of two that you could say is the
Yeah.
best one.
The hot
So-
take
Yeah,
would be
well,
like
either way, that-
two
that
is
was
the
mine.
best. And
Yeah.
it's definitely not.
2 is not very good.
Oh yeah.
Is that the one with the rock climbing and the glasses explode?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, not good. Either way, Remy at some point off screen delivers this news to Linguini, and he gets put in charge of the restaurant because he's actually Gusto's son. And then we get the return of one Anton Ego saying he will
the
return
scene.
tomorrow night with high expectation.
I love this. I love the build up to the previous scene with Anton like finding out that Gusteau's is back on the map. The shape of his room being a coffin because he kills things, and just like there's so much about Anton as like a presence that like when he comes in, it's like, well, you're pretty skinny for a guy who likes food, and he's like, I don't like food. I love it.
If I don't love it, I don't swallow.
I do actually-
He's such a great antagonist throughout this thing, and I love how sparse they use him throughout it.
I do want to highlight the comeback that Linguini has when he says, and you're thin for somebody who likes food, because I feel like up until this point in the movie, we've been lulled into this idea that Linguini's just kind of like a layabout. He's not responsible for any of his own fame or success. And I feel like that line was a good reminder that like, oh no, Linguini is, he's not an idiot. He's actually a smart guy that can come up with something clever like that. It's just, he doesn't really have a lot of confidence in himself. And it's only in kind of like off the cuff moments like that he's able to surprise himself and us, the audience.
Yeah.
So this is my last how does this work that I had planned, and it's honestly not really how does this work, but I need to know. So is he a vampire, first and foremost, Ego? Because the whole coffin-shaped room, it's padded. Right. He doesn't necessarily go out. So you don't see him out in the sun. He's
pretty
very pale,
Yeah.
very thin.
He does look like he
and-
belongs in a Hotel Transylvania film.
What? Shut the fuck up, because I was gonna say, is Ego Adam Sandler from Hotel Transylvania in his old age?
Oh my god. Oh, I love it.
I hate it. Why do I still do this show? Like, I don't. I
But
hate
wait,
it.
doesn't Hotel Transylvania take place in present day?
Semantics.
How
Is
does
this like a
work?
Benjamin Button with vampire situation?
Exactly. Guillermo del Toro will fix it.
Guillermo del Toro will
We'll fix
direct a
it in post.
standalone live-action Hotel Transylvania prequel,
Yo, I'm down.
which is called Ego, the Food Critic Vampire.
The conspiracy
Slayer, yeah.
is strong with this film.
Okay. Either way, the friction between Remy and Linguini boils over as Linguini discovers that Remy has been stealing food for his family, kicks him out, and says if he comes back, he's going to treat him the way that vermin should be treated in a kitchen. And Remy proceeds to get captured by Skinner, who set a trap for him outside of the restaurant. Ego arrives for a little perspective, which if someone comes into a restaurant and orders a little perspective, why the fuck are they in a restaurant? Go to a fucking Van Gogh exhibit. You're not getting perspective from
You
food.
pretentious piece
I
of shit.
Van Gogh.
loved
Van
that.
Gogh. Thank you.
That interaction between Ego and the waiter was so
Ratzenberger's
good.
It's
so confused.
Such a great line,
Yeah.
though. Like, oh man, like the power
Yeah.
in just that line, and yeah, it's
You bring the food, I'll bring the perspective.
yeah.
Which pairs really well with some overly priced bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Remy's brother and father are able to free him from the trunk of Skinner's car, which wasn't he? Oh no, he stole the moped earlier, right? So I guess he also has a car. Whatever he does, they do that. They get him back to the kitchen. Linguini reveals everything to the staff because the staff go and try to kill Remy when they see him. He stands his ground. He's going to get executed, and then Linguini saves his life. Reveals everything to the staff that the rat's been cooking the whole time. It wasn't him, and they all proceed to quit on him.
So
Quitters.
one thing, Remy, after one argument, decides to friggin' rob the kitchen of all of its food. What a dick.
I mean, at the same time, though,
Not all of it. He's just trying to help his family survive.
it
right?
wasn't even in like the argument. Like it's the thing of like I saw it as a thing of like on one side he has his dad who is like, just go with your baser instincts. This is not gonna work, like you, and he's fighting with that. And then there's also this guy who's like basically taking all the credit for what he's doing because he is a rat. And I think it's the breaking point of like, you know what, you're right, I am just a rat. Like I felt like that was more of a thing, like I must, like my dad's right, and I think that was more of a thing rather than a, fuck it, I'm gonna take all this.
It's more of him trying to figure out where he fits, because when he's in the city with just Linguini, he feels like he fits in with Linguini. When his family returns and his rift starts to form between him and Linguini, he feels like he can find solace in his family. But he really does, in this moment, decide that he has to step out of the shadow, literally, into the kitchen and reveal that he is who he is, and people need to accept him for that, which no one does but Linguini. So Remy takes over the kitchen. All the rats come into the kitchen and help him cook. They illegally restrain a health inspector, which is literally any health inspector's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a SpongeBob
And
episode.
I think this is the first time, or at least it's the first time this episode, I have a how does this work?
Whoa.
Oh.
Ooh.
How are these rats so naturally gifted in the kitchen?
I mean, they're
Well,
not.
it's all they're all good at they're all good at like listening to orders, and Remy is the one he's ordering all of them.
Yeah.
Like I just think
Right,
that
he's
it's like,
ordering them, telling them what to do, but like they still do it really well and deliver 5-star quality Parisian delicacies. Like,
as somebody
no,
who works who's experienced crew dynamics as of very recently and had to be that leadership, it all is about telling people what your vision is and properly explaining it. And Remy, just like Guillermo del Toro, is a great director because he can push his vision onto other people.
Alex, I knew
I really should watch The Shape of Water.
Yo, best
so
best
good.
film of 2017. Anyways, let's keep going.
Remy decides to make Ratatouille for Ego.
Before this, though,
Okay.
Colette is driving
she comes
away,
back.
and then Deus Ex Bookstore
Yeah.
just so happens to have this book of this dead-ass chef front and center. She's like, oh, shit, anyone can cook, and comes on back.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I got that.
Oh, and no, yeah, it's later with Skinner. Either way, yeah, Remy decides he's going to make Ratatouille for Ego, which Colette questions because it's a peasant dish. It's not haute cuisine, as it were. But what Remy prepares for Ego isn't actually ratatouille. It's a variation known as confit bialdi. It was adapted by a chef who worked on the film as a consultant, Thomas Keller. This variation differs very much so from conventional ratatouille in terms of preparation and method. Major difference being that the vegetables are all thinly sliced and baked instead of the traditional ratatouille, which is them being cooked in a pot.
Which was a huge point of confusion for me when I watched this movie for the first time, because I had Ratatouille before seeing this movie, and I, would go on to have more Ratatouille in the future after watching this movie for the first time. And all of the Ratatouille I had eaten and would eat after that point in time was all like, it's basically just like a stew. It's not at all like the way it's depicted in this movie, which is still very, very, very delicious looking. But yeah,
it's almost like a vegetable casserole.
Exactly. I'm looking forward to experimenting with the appearance of my Ratatouille when I make it to coincide with the release of this episode. So look forward to that. But more details have yet to be ironed out.
It'll be cool to watch along with that right around the time where we can watch this and react to it with everybody. All right. Either way, the Ratatouille is served to Ego, who has some sort of mental break and dramatically drops his pen, because that's what critics do, I guess, is they drop pens. As he flashes back to his childhood, being brought up in the French countryside as a British immigrant to France, maybe? I don't know.
It's such a great scene, though. Such a great scene.
Yeah.
I must say, like, with this, like, not obviously it's not the end yet, but like with this ending, it was much more of a thing. Like, I thought for sure, I thought all of the help was the cooking help was gonna come back and yada yada, and then, to my surprise, they don't, and things things go where they go, and I was very surprised because I thought I had this movie on lock, and then it kind of subverted my expectations.
This scene, along with like the Heimlich "I'm an itty bitty butterfly" scene, and the part in Toy Story where Woody confronts young Xehanort, are like the most mimetic parts of all the Pixar movies. Alex is so confused.
They're talking about Kingdom Hearts, Alex. It's Kingdom Hearts.
Yo.
Alex. Unfortunately,
no.
no.
We're gonna finish talking about the movie, and then you can talk about Kingdom Hearts.
I just want to sell you on this.
So close.
Woody tells this Final Fantasy ass looking character that you don't have friends. Nobody ever loved you. You're a stinky doo-doo head. It's canonical. And it's great. Play Kingdom Hearts. Anyways, go on. Go on, bitch.
Chef Skinner's also been in the restaurant, ordered exactly what Gusteau did, and needs to know who made the ratatouille. Barges into the kitchen, only to be confronted with, thousands of rats? And they hogtie him and throw him in the cold storage with the food critic as well, or the health inspector, because that's what rats do, apparently. I don't know.
If you're not with us, you're against us.
Eventually, they let them out, though, because the health inspector shuts down the restaurant. They end up opening a new restaurant with this wonderful voiceover of the review from Anton Ego of the meal. And I just want to come back to it here because it really stuck out to me, this entire review that he writes. And I just want to read a bit of it here, even though we've all just watched the movie. I feel like we need a little bit more perspective, especially as people reviewing and ranking this movie. In many ways, the work of a critic is easy. We risk very little, yet enjoy a position over those who offer up their work and themselves to our judgment. We thrive on negative criticism, which is fun to write and to read. But the bitter truth we critics must face is that in the grand scheme of things, the average piece of junk is probably more meaningful than our criticism designating it so. But these are times where a critic truly risks something, and that is in the discovery and the defense of the new. The world is often unkind to new talent and new creation.
I love this.
So
as Alex was saying earlier,
it's so good.
So good.
It got me so good. And for a vampire, dude's a good writer.
He's had time to practice. Linguini and Colette open a new restaurant with Ego as their chief investor, and Remy is the head chef. How do they get away with this? We've already had one restaurant shut down for health code violations, and now you have a restaurant that has a literal rat bar.
I would like to
think... Go ahead, Alex.
Okay, I would like to think that Anton being, a critic, he's got, some expensive lawyers because he talks a lot of shit and will need to not be sued for libel. And so with that, he's got some expensive lawyers. This is probably some legal loophole where they're technically not a restaurant. And so they can't be in violation of the food critic or whatever.
Oh, so you're saying they're operating without a license the same way Adams and Barbecue is operating without a business license?
I would like to think that they are legally doing it. They're just doing some legal loophole to be like, we're not technically a restaurant. We're like, we sell books. But
This is a shoe store.
yeah, exactly. This is a pet store.
No. Plot twist. They actually bought it. They actually bought out that Exterminator store, and they actually set up shop in there. So it's just an Exterminator front, and it's a restaurant as a speakeasy in behind.
So I can't speak to the legality of the restaurant, but I was going to say, who knows? Maybe the rat, the restaurant being called Ratatouille, but also the little rat piece of art outside of the restaurant are meant to be tongue in cheek. Like, people who go to this restaurant know that the person who owns it primarily was previously a chef over at Gusteau's, and Gusteau's was a place that got cracked for its major rat problems, and so they're like, all right, fuck it, we're just gonna call our restaurant Ratatouille, and we're gonna really play up the rat angle of it.
See, I think it's just common knowledge that Remy's the cook, because they literally have a platform that goes up to the window. There's no way that he goes there and Anton's like, oh, surprise me, and not another soul in that restaurant sees it. I think it's just everyone knows the rat makes the food, and they're like,
cool,
you know
man.
what? Fuck it.
Why did you make
Again, it's a speakeasy. Everyone be cool.
Why did you make Anton Ego the guys from Monsters Inc? Oh, you threw off his group.
Either way, this is the third Pixar film after A Bug's Life and Finding Nemo to display the words "the end" at the end of the movie. However, it does so in French, the first time a film in this series has done so in a language that is not English. Cozy, please go ahead.
I just want to quickly loop back around to the little rail that Remy goes up to look inside the restaurant. I wonder if the way that they justify that is so, like, young kids come into the restaurant and they're like, oh man, what's the little rail for? Oh, well, don't you know, little shit, that's for the rat. There's a rat that cooks in the back of our kitchen, and he makes all of our delicious meals, and we have that little lamp so we can go inside and look inside the restaurant. And kids are like, oh man, that's a great little story. It really helps build up the lore of this restaurant. But secretly, this story, which they are making out to be false so as to draw attention away from it, is actually true, and that's how they get away with it.
I'm gonna build on a level of what Cozy's saying. So that kid grows up to be a critic, and that is where they flash back to. Like, it's just like the rats used to make.
It's a time loop. It's all a time loop.
They use the doors from Monsters Inc.
Yeah,
I want to say I've been hosting a weekly video game podcast with Cozy for well over 12 months at this point. And I think today is the first time that I can remember where you've made me laugh uncontrollably the way you just did. So kudos to you for that tale you just weaved.
I mean, I don't know if I don't know if I should feel like praised or insulted right now that you didn't laugh at any of the other jokes I made beforehand.
The nonchalantness of the little shit.
That's what got me. Okay, movie's over. Let's get into talking about the video game that released alongside this movie, since we do also host a video game podcast. Press YYZ every Wednesday at 8 Eastern on Twitch and YouTube thereafter. The primary video game adaptation of this film, also titled Ratatouille, released on all major consoles and handhelds in the year 2007. Video game based on the movie released on the Xbox 360, Nintendo Wii, PlayStation 2, GameCube, Xbox, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, PlayStation Portable, PlayStation 3, Microsoft Windows, Mac OS X, Java ME, and mobile devices.
Released on Java?
Jesus.
That was back in the day when flip phones had games built on Java ME.
Yeah, I remember playing Straw Humans on the flip phone.
Oh my God.
I definitely don't. Does anyone have memories of playing this game, or can I just move on?
Never did.
I played it on the Wii, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, I don't remember
Perfect.
much about it. I do remember playing it about like a couple years after, just because my one of my friends' nephews had it, and I was like, let's check this game out. It was not very good.
Cozy?
Yeah.
The funny thing about these video games, I don't have any memories attached to them, but most of them, if not all of them, were actually published by THQ.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get to the very end of the credits for Ratatouille, you actually see like, go and play the Ratatouille video game published by THQ, now out in stores. And I'm like, huh, that's a weird relic of a bygone era.
There is a relic in.
I mean, we may very well see THQ Nordic start making some video game tie-ins. They already did it with the SpongeBob.
I mean, is
the Rehydrated.
is Biomutant not gonna be a Ratatouille game? You know.
So the game was developed jointly by Heavy Iron Studios and Asobo Studios. Heavy Iron Studios, best known for making bad movie tie-in games from the looks of it. Asobo Studios, you might recognize as the developer behind the 2020 version of Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Damn.
Made tonight.
Wow.
So yeah, the developer of Flight Sim also worked on the Ratatouille game for THQ.
You know what? I can see what they took from Ratatouille and put in Flight Sim.
Michael Giacchino actually came back to compose the score for the game.
Oh.
Oh wow.
I'm just looking at its Wikipedia page. This is fun.
Did anybody come back actor-wise?
What?
To the game?
And
did they
I'm not seeing
replace?
a- I'm
Did
not-
they replace Linguini with Kenneth in the game?
Yes.
I'm not seeing a cast list on Wikipedia because no one really wants to go back to talk about the Ratatouille video game, I guess.
Actually, there's one more thing that we need to mention with regards to the THQ published Ratatouille video game, Mitch, and it's that one of the more recent games that Heavy Iron Studios co-developed was none other than Marvel's Avengers.
Oh God, that
Wait,
explains
what?
so much.
Yeah, I'm on the Wikipedia page for Heavy Iron Studios.
Oh,
2020
shit.
developed.
I didn't
Crash
read that
Bandicoot
far
4.
down. Jesus.
Marvel's
And
They also
Crash
worked on the
Bandicoot
stick-
4.
and South Park: The Stick of Truth. So like this studio has some pedigree, okay?
It lost
gonna-
it by the time it got to Avengers.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure Heavy Iron's done other things. Like I remember them actually being tied to some pretty cool projects.
Yeah, they're a Call of Duty sports studio as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were also involved in the canceled games for Toy Story 3, a SpongeBob SquarePants title, Saints Row the Cooler, which was a fighting game spin-off in the Saints Row franchise that required either Kinect or PlayStation Move,
Oh,
I'm
nope,
glad they
nope,
killed it.
Nope, you lost me.
as well as an early rejected version of what would eventually become Kinect Disneyland Adventures, and a couple of Family Guy games.
Those Family Guy games suck.
Gross.
Marvel's Adventures, Jesus fuck. All right, cool. Moving along, we can get into ranking the Randys, in which we rank all the Randys that were in this movie that did the music, except this movie didn't have Randy. It had Michael Giacchino. So, our list as it stands, you have
Wait.
Strange Things.
You need
Okay.
to have the theme. You can't just jump into a song-based
I forgot
podcast
we
within
had
a
a-
podcast without having its theme, which is
Get your
forgot we had a
shit
theme.
together, man.
ranking the Randys.
That's
Is
why I
that the
wanted to
theme
skip
song?
it.
It wouldn't have been complete without
It wouldn't
that.
have been complete.
Okay. So we got Michael Giacchino back to score another Pixar film, this time Ratatouille. I really liked what he did here. Very subtle notes of like French influence.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
good.
it was
Served
nice.
the plot of the film. Nothing really stood out to me.
I think the one song, it wasn't composed by him, but the song that they used, like especially at the credits, I have no idea what it's called, but like that French song that I see in
Yeah.
TikToks a lot,
Yeah.
that is like the most iconic piece of music throughout the whole
See,
thing.
I was gonna say because I think it's the Bug's Life is the only one we have where it's just essentially the whole
Incredibles
thing.
as well.
Incredibles as well. I was going to get into the
but
list, but we can do that after.
I think like if we're gonna pick one song, I don't know the name of it. It's that French song with the lady singing.
Yeah.
But they use it twice in the movie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's really good both times.
Yeah.
Give me a second. Is this? I might have found it.
So I vote for that French song.
Yeah, I got it. It is
TikTok
Le
song.
Festin by Camille.
That French
Le
song by
Festin
Camille.
By Camille. Written by Michael Giacchino.
Oh,
so it's-
shit.
It was
Okay.
composed originally for this film and performed by Camille Dalmay.
Oh, I assumed it was a licensed song, but
It
I'm
was
glad
not.
that I was corrected.
So we've got that, which I'll put into our list. As it stands now, you've got at number 9, Strange Things. Number 8, the score from Finding Nemo. At number 7, Randy Newman's score in A Bug's Life. At number 6, you have Sailing. At number 5, you have Life is a Highway by Rascal Flatts. At number 4, you have Michael Giacchino's incredible score. Number 3, When Someone Loves Me. At number 2, If I Didn't Have You. And at number 1, You've Got a Friend in Me. Where do we feel like Le Festin, written by Michael Giacchino, performed by Camille, fits in this list?
Well,
Do we want to do it by show of hands, or do we want to just kind of pick a place?
First, let's get Cozy's thoughts.
Cozy.
I've listened to every single episode up until now, except for the Cars one, because of the timing of when we're recording this. I don't remember the placement of all the previous songs. Can you just quickly go over them?
Yeah, I did already, and to save repeating it, I will throw a link in the discussion that you can just follow to the doc that has the list, which might make things easier.
Okay. Hold on a second.
But I think for me, looking at this list, I'd want to start with talking about it below Life is a Highway from Cars, and then kind of talk it up from there.
I'd argue.
Or would you want to go even lower than that?
I gotta agree. Put it above.
Honestly, for me, I'd put
say
it directly below, and then that's where it stays.
I would say
Alec?
it probably would go up. Ooh, that's hard.
Life is a
I think
Highway.
It's definitely. I think it should be above Life is a Highway.
I think.
Okay,
Because I
I'm
think it's
kind of
more-
with you just because it's original. Cozy, what do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think above Life is a Highway is probably best. I'm going back and forth between this song and the score for The Incredibles, and it's like both are equally good, but both are of a very different kind of tone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could go like
That's where I'm
either
at
or.
too.
Yeah.
But
feel
I
like
think-
do we
I
want?
think, I think above Life is a Highway is probably where I'd rank it. Like just totally.
See,
So 4 of us agree that it should be above Life is a Highway by Rascal Flatts. So let's do show of hands. We've got it above Life is a Highway, except for TJ. Who thinks it ranks above Michael Giacchino's incredible score?
Not a chance.
By show of hands.
Not a chance.
It's
No,
either
I
up or
don't-
down, Cozy.
I
There's
don't
no
think so.
flip flopping.
All right, I'll just keep it down to move things
Okay.
along.
I'm the only one who thinks this ranks above Michael Giacchino's score from The Incredibles. Either way, Le Festin, written by Michael Giacchino, comes in at number 5 on this list.
I'll say most of these songs on this thing I would throw on almost at any given point. This is one I wouldn't, which is why it stays below Life is a Highway for me.
I can respect that.
So
enough.
I would have put it below Life is a Highway. The only reason I put it above is because it was originally composed for this movie, whereas Life is a Highway is a cover of a better
Either
song
way,
by
it's
Tom
still-
Cochran.
No,
Tom Cochran's version of Life is a Highway is better.
Tom Cochran sucks his last name.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Okay. Let's get into the short film that accompanied this in theaters. That was Lifted, which is the story of an alien trying to basically pass his DMV test to
Yep.
learn how to abduct humans. And I absolutely love this.
Yeah,
This was
Yeah.
Is really cute.
Yeah,
I,
It's one of the strongest shorts so
yeah,
far.
100%.
I did not remember this from my childhood, and it absolutely blew me away.
I've never seen this this short up until like an hour and a half ago. It's a pretty good short. I don't know how they didn't kill that guy. That guy definitely should be dead.
Oh yeah, he's dead.
Like
He's
yeah,
100% dead.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Cozy, thoughts on this short?
Yeah, I think it's great. I will say the Wilhelm scream at the very end of the short when the credits are brought up. See, here's the thing. I thought that it sounded a little bit out of place being the only line of dialogue in the short. But I mean, it's not even a criticism. The short's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I think typically these shorts aren't voiced. I know we had like grunts in Jerry's
Bounding.
game, and we have the narrator in Boundin', but we don't actually have characters
yeah.
until this point with this Wilhelm scream at the end. I really loved it. Okay, so as it stands, our list of shorts by rank is as follows. At number 7, we have Tin Toy. At number 6, we have For the Birds. At number 5, we have One Man Band. At number 4, you have Knick Knack. At number 3, you have Boundin'. At number 2, you have Luxo Jr. And at number 1, you have Jerry's Game. Does anyone feel like this should rank below One Man Band? And that's kind of where I want to start with the ranking.
No.
Okay, so we'll start it there. So we'll do it by show of hands. Who thinks that this short Lifted is a better short than Knick Knack? By show of hands. Everyone's hand goes up. Okay. Who thinks that this was a better... We'll leave them up. We'll leave hands up.
Mm-hmm.
We'll leave hands up. Thank you very much. Who thinks this is a better short film than Disney Pixar's Boundin'? All hands stay up. Wow, I should have started higher. Who thinks this is a better short than Luxo Jr.? TJ's hand goes down. Everyone else's hand stays up. Who thinks this is a better short than Jerry's Game? Alex's hand goes down, but 3 hands stay up, and technically Cozy's not a host.
Tiebreaker.
So we need our tiebreaker. And did you watch Lifted? Shit.
Well, then
So
Cozy's our
our
tiebreaker. It's number 1.
Cozy, was your hand up?
Yeah, it was.
Yes, it was.
Cozy's hand was
I
up.
will
So at
say-
a vote of 3-2, Lifted is now the number 1 ranked Pixar short on the YYZ video list of Pixar shorts.
I will say, in terms of all of the Pixar shorts in existence, I don't know that this is the utter number
No,
one
100%.
spot, but compared to everything that came before it, it's like, yeah, I feel like it's pretty inarguable.
Yeah,
We're gonna have to watch this short after, honey. You'll really like it.
It's very close for me. Like, I kind of debated to myself when I was putting it on my own personal letterbox list if it goes above Jerry's Game. But there's something about Jerry's Game that's
do like
so
Jerry's Game a lot.
memorable and so nostalgic for me specifically. It was like one of the shorts that I feel like I remember the most vividly out of like all of these very early Pixar movies, that I think that kind of influences me the most.
I think that's about right. Like, I think that this is the best short, I would say. But I think, like, in terms of remembering it, for me, I think Jerry's Game probably is that. But I can't deny that it is just far and away like just a very, very, very well done short.
Yeah,
I think it's better. I think it's better than Jerry's Game, but I still think Luxo Jr. criminally underrated on this list. I know it's number 2. It should be number 1.
Yeah.
Or I guess it's number 3 now, but
It is now number 3 on our list of Pixar animated shorts accompanying films in theater. Let's get to the big one. Ranking Ratatouille against all the other Pixar films. As it stands currently, before we get into this, Cozy, you are our guest. We love you very much. You will not be our tiebreaker on this one. The tiebreaker needs to stay with our one and only tiebreaker, my lovely wife, Carmen. So our list as it stands, at number 7, you have A Bug's Life. At number 6, Finding Nemo. At number 5, you have Cars. At number 4, you have Toy Story somehow. At number 3, you have Toy Story 2. At number 2, you have The Incredibles. And our current number 1 ranked film is Monsters Incorporated. Does anyone have any inclination of where we should start on the voting?
I'm taking my soapbox out for a second.
God
All
damn
right.
it, TJ.
All
All right. So,
Do you need Carmen to hear your argument?
no, not at all.
You're not
Because
gonna
of
convince me, so
the
it's fine.
because of the bullshit of this list by our Press YYZ host and YYZ video host, Mitch George, this list is fucked. Because Toy Story
Super fucked.
is, in general,
Story, yeah.
the best. I had a good argument for Toy Story 2.
You did.
And he couldn't
Y'all
live with
fucked
that,
us
so
on Toy Story.
he voted Monsters Inc. above Toy Story, where no world should that be
No
higher,
world should that be
that
there.
high.
Mm-mm.
So I fucking vote
But Alex
that
also did that.
based on this man's bullshit list that he has created, we start and end this voting at number 1.
You could get off your soapbox. I agree with you. It should be number
Yep.
1.
I'm at number 1 as well. That's 3 out of the 4 hosts. So at that,
Wait.
we don't even have to vote at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah, but just like sell me on it though.
Okay, so
Like, I mean,
not
obviously,
all-
it's a
the
correct
reason here.
conclusion. Mhm.
Like the reason here is based on the movie. I've got 2 parts: the movie and by host
Our bullshit
stupidity.
list.
Our bullshit. Yes. So first, I'll go on the movie. It is Pixar's best technically. The plot, in terms of just, it is the most unique of all of them. I'd say it's even more unique than Monsters Inc. I would say, like, the characters, I really enjoy Remy. Patton Oswalt, I forgot, did the voice for Remy, did a great job. As much as it's not Kenneth from 30 Rock, I still like Alfredo. He grew on me, even though I still want it to be. And I like every character in this movie, even Gollum, the little chef, before he went to the Lord of the Rings. Like, he was great
Ian
in
Holm
here.
did not play Gollum. He played Bilbo Baggins. You get your Lord
No,
of the
you know
Rings
that
back.
chef.
Wait.
That chef totally became Gollum. Okay, I don't care about the voice actor. That chef is Gollum. But like, it is just all around a great movie. And yes, it has its flaws. Again, like, I don't like the relationship. I feel like it was kind of shoehorned in, but I think based on our list, which goes to my second point, is Monsters Inc. is not that good. It's not a bad movie. I enjoyed my time with it, but it is not higher than any Toy Story. I'd even argue 4, which I know Nick doesn't like.
You're saying
I
saying
don't
things.
like
You're
that.
saying bad things.
Is my number 2.
Okay.
Like, this is my number. Like, Ratatouille is my number 1.
I want to do something crazy right now. We've three out of the 4 regular hosts have agreed that this is in the number 1 spot. Nick, say your piece, then I'm going to do my crazy thing.
I just want to say, like, I as somebody who upon first viewing was not like the biggest fan in terms of connection, I could recognize that it's a great movie, obviously, but I think that this movie, more than any of them, especially as you know, the previous Pixar movies I grew up with, like, they are movies that I've seen over and over and over again. I feel like this movie serves very well to study, to kind of upon rewatches and like Alex had said, where it's one of those things where the message is, you know, not everybody can or like should do it, but they can. Like, you have the talent, like you have that power. And I think that message is so powerful, and especially with the ending that it does have, masterfully done in such a way. But I think that, like, upon studying, getting other people's perspective on it, I think that it'll kind of go up that list. Personally, for me, obviously not. Like, I don't think it's super high, but I mean, where our list is admittedly fucked right now. So yeah,
I'm about to fix it.
Toy Story's on the list. Like, of course it's going to be fucked.
Okay, so 3 of the 4 regular hosts, that being myself, Alex.
Would you rather me say my piece before you do your crazy thing, or should I say my piece after you do your crazy thing?
Go for it now.
Okay. I mean, I don't have much to say other than that. I think that this film also should be at number 1. I think we've talked about this throughout the episode leading up to this point, but like Ratatouille really does need to be complimented for the ways in which it kind of breaks the mold and goes against convention. I was meaning to talk about this at the beginning of this review, but like one thing I really appreciate about this movie is how episodic its format is, in contrast to so many other Pixar movies where like the main kind of conflict is established right at the very beginning, and the entire movie is about trying to overcome this particular conflict. Ratatouille feels a lot more like a TV show, like a 12-episode TV show that was condensed down into a movie format, with villains like Ego only really becoming a major threat like halfway into the series, or movie in this case, and it manages to work really, really well. And that, combined with all the other things that Ratatouille does really, really, really well, make it an easy number 1 for me for, you know, the time being, for the amount of Pixar movies that we're currently evaluating.
But
I just want to say, sorry, Nick. I just want to say one thing off of the point about Ego being introduced later in the series / film. Is Ratatouille just the Disney Pixar equivalent to The Mandalorian? Because you've got someone trying to protect something that shouldn't belong in a certain place, and you have the main crux of the film being introduced right at the end.
No.
I think that's a stretch.
It's a stretch. But you know what's
The
not?
Mandalorian
but
based off of like
thing.
Western, like hero's journey storytelling, right?
But you know what's not a stretch, though, is segueing out of that point, the fact that, hey, we ain't episodic stuff. We ain't too far off from old Zacky Snyder. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Bringing it back.
Okay.
Before you do your crazy thing, I have one more reason a knock against the movie, even though I still think it should be number 1. Ego, Luigi, and Colette, all dumb. They have
Linguini.
just bought
Luigi?
whatever.
Luigi is carved.
Whatever. They're all stupid because they have just built a restaurant on a rat that has a 3-year lifespan.
Yep.
This is true.
So,
Okay. I want to throw a wrench into this entire list. We have been arguing for weeks about the way this list is built, all around the crux that Toy Story is far too low on this list.
No, it's not.
Guest host notwithstanding, that being my wife who comes in once a
Guest host. I'm a host. I'm it.
Yeah, it is true. Okay. Other than the opinions of my wife, which may or may not be wrong, I think to make this easier on ourselves in the future, we rank not 1 film this week, but 2. I say we re-rank the original Toy Story on this list.
If you
Why?
TJ,
No.
if you're saying do 2 again, we're gonna end up at the same place we
Because that's
got
the
here
point.
from.
Is 2 is a better movie.
Two is a
Okay,
better
then
movie,
one.
absolutely.
Okay, we'll start. We'll re-rank Toy Story 2, and rank Ratatouille. Okay.
It's so low on
All
the
right.
list, and no
I
one
mean,
agrees with it.
I
I
mean,
know,
it's-
because it's causing fights. I don't like to fight with my friends.
I mean,
and my wife.
to
And my
that point
TJ.
though, I mean, as much as the list is fucked up, we should probably stick with it. Like, I mean, that's kind of just like
Exactly.
going
Like,
back on our
Yeah,
I-
I feel like
I-
this will ruin the
At the end of the
spiciness
year-
of the
and especially
Exactly.
the spiciness of what's to come.
yes.
Yeah. Mitch,
Like, at the
you
end of the year,
you
we're
pissed
gonna
on this
revisit
list. You
two.
fucking lie in it, Mister.
Yeah,
Yeah, good.
So
The list as it
what are we
stands.
I don't agree with
after that
Carmen,
ranking-
but
Are
Is
we
at number
ranking Toy
8?
Story or are we not?
No,
No.
No.
At
Okay.
number
I do want to say,
Bug's Life,
just sorry,
and
Mitch.
number
I'm sorry
7.
to interrupt you again, but I just want to say, Toy Story 1 is actually the Pixar movie that I care about the most. I don't know that I would necessarily rank it at number 1, given, how impressive some of the animation studio's latter films are. But when you announced this series and you said, hey, we'll bring on guests who have a affinity for each of the movies, I was tempted at the very beginning to say, hey, have me on for Toy Story 1. And I didn't invite myself because I think that it would have been weird to have a guest on the first episode.
Probably good call.
So
Yeah.
if at any point in the future you guys ever want to re-rank Toy Story 1, I will come in just for the segment in which you do so and then schlep out as soon as possible.
It's something that's getting put in the books at some point. I think we have to have a Pixar movie fight club.
Yeah.
All right.
Fine. I guess
don't
this
talk
is
about that.
technically announcing.
I would say
talk about it, though.
teasing.
No, we haven't announced
Teasing.
anything yet. We're just teasing.
We can't talk about Fight Club until Fight Club actually
We can't
happens.
talk
Yeah, what's the first rule
Yeah.
of Fight Club?
We can't talk about it.
Uh,
Especially can't have a
okay.
Facebook
Building.
page about
The
it.
list as it stands after today. At number 8, you have A Bug's Life. At number 7, Finding Nemo. At number 6, Cars. At number 5, Toy Story. At number 4, Toy Story 2. At number 3,
Rightfully
The
belongs.
Incredibles. At number 2, Monsters Incorporated. And at number 1, Ratatouille.
Yeah, and honestly, that list I think is perfect. Toy Story is too high up on the list, though.
I think you're crazy,
Carmen, you're
I
wrong.
mean,
I
You're
can't support.
dead
I
wrong.
can't support things like that.
Can you get
it's
an
dead
enrollment
wrong.
based
It's
on
so-
movie rankings?
It's so
Oh.
funny because I have like the bit in Brooklyn Nine-Nine where it's like, you're crazy. Like that's
Well, that all being said, thank you so very much for tuning into this very special episode of YYZ Video. Cozy, thank you again for joining us. We'll be sure to drop your socials in the description of the video and the podcast to come. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to
Press it, Lord.
be sure to check out Press YYZ. There it is. Wherever you can find us, that's Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and podcast services all over the place. We're all on the social medias. The descriptions and links and all of that is in the video. Until next time, we'll see you at the movies.
Wait. Okay, so what's next now?
The next film that we are going to review is Wall-E.
No, what?
Number one. Number one.
I've never seen this one.
I'm excited.
I've
I've
never
excited.
seen Wall-E.
I'm not
Hold on.
excited because she's got bad taste.
Before we end the episode, Carmen, can you describe to us the plot of Wall-E, what you think it's going to be?
Ooh.
I was thinking it's about some robot thing that was like it's like a Mars rover, and it was. Am I right so far?
Keep going.
It
No,
was
keep
like
going.
it was brawn to like it went to like outer space, and I guess it landed on the wrong planet, and it made friends with something, and yeah, I think they're trying to bring it back. I have no idea what it's
You're
about.
gonna
Bro,
find
I
out.
can't wait
when
till we
You're
get
in for a good time.
I can't wait till we get to series where Carmen hasn't watched and Carmi's Corner just becomes what is this next movie?
What happened here? That is what the next one will be. And until next time, we will see you at the movies.
Toodles.
Justice League pasta shapes with meatballs.
Zack Snyder's
Chicken
Zack
sloppy Joe.
Snyder.
No,
Guillermo del Toro's Justice
GDT's
League.
Chef Boyardee cut.
Chef already got.